Hey everybody, this is the Sliders Review, and I'm here today to talk to you about my thoughts on Sister Boniface Season 1. So, I'm an American, and I say her name Barney Face, because that's the way it looks. However, somebody in the show pronounced her name Barney Farce. So I guess that's how you say her name, or maybe that's just how that one character says her name. I'm not really sure because not that many people actually say her name in the show. So, anyways, this is just gonna be my thoughts on like season one. And like, so when I had BritBox, which I don't have no more, I was surfing around trying to find something new to watch, right? And so as I'm like, watching a bunch of like crime shows, it's weird. It's like I'm not really the crime drama type person, like when it comes to like American shows, but for some reason when it comes to British shows, I'm very fascinated by them. But a lot of them I don't like, watch the whole thing. They don't really keep my attention that much. There's been like a few, like no offense. And so like, but this caught my attention because of how like this cover looks right here, this picture. Because it's a nun looking kind of quirky and she's riding a motorcycle. And I'm just kind of like, okay, this show has to be either hilarious or cool or something like that, right? Never heard of this show before in my life. I had no idea that this was like, a spin-off of Father Brown. Now, I've never watched Father Brown, but I've heard of it. I think it's on PBS Masterpiece, which is, over here in America, how we watch like a lot of British shows on television if you don't have like the BCC or the BBC. And so I've never watched it, but I've heard of it. But I don't know what it's about. And I didn't know that, this was a remake of the original from back in the day. I think like the 70s or something. But this version of Father Brown, I think has gone on for at least 10 seasons, I think. And so I'm not sure how Barney Foss, I think that's how you say her name, Barney Farce. I don't know how she spun off exactly. I don't know if they just created her out of the thin blue air or if she first appeared on like, his episode or his show, like as a backdoor pilot or what. I haven't done that much research into it. But I thought to myself, you know, I just thought to myself, like, how crazy is this? A nun, a kooky nun, she's like solving mysteries and murder mysteries and stuff like that, riding a motorcycle. I'm all like, I have to check this out. So as I started watching, and one of the things I like about this, it's like a female-led show. There's some diversity in here, because there's like three main characters who are like female, one black dude and one white guy, which after watching the first season, I was curious to see what people were saying about this. I went on YouTube, like the trailer and stuff, and there were people calling this show woke and all this other crap. I'm just like, Lord have mercy. Like these crazy, like angry, toxic YouTubers from America have reached on over to the UK. But one reason why they reached over there, because there's at least three toxic UK people. Well, not UK, but like Europe people, I'm gonna say, like like who just as toxic can be, and it's just kind of like takes all kinds no matter where you're at. And so I'm just like, what the world makes this so woke? Like, okay, there's a female main character, but once again, we know these anti-woke mob people, they hate women and everything, so they don't like the idea it's female-led. They're probably like, and they're like, oh, what, three females in here? Like, they're probably just like pissing in their pants. And so then they're probably crying because there's a black dude in the show. But y'all got a white guy, so y'all should be happy about that because they love white men and everything. But anyway, So I was just kind of like, this has to be like a really, really cool show, right? I am a little mixed by this, at least by the first season. I haven't went further than the first season other than the last episode of the fourth season, because it's about 38 episodes, 4 seasons. I don't know if this is going to be the last season, the fourth season or not. The way all that stuff was happening in the fourth season, it kind of makes it seem like it would be. But everything was okay at the end. But if so, that would be a nice, like, stopping point. But anyways, so, like, I'm slightly disappointed in the first season. It's not a bad show whatsoever. It's kind of like Scooby-Doo minus the talking dog and no masked people in costumes. Instead, it's just murder mysteries. But as I watched the first season, and the first season only, except for that one episode in the fourth, I'm just like, this show has a strange format to it. The humor is nice, but sometimes the humor doesn't always land. The drama is nice, but there's not much drama. It's an interesting murder mystery of how, like, all these people die, because it's episodic and everything. But one of the main problems I have is, like, the show is titled after its lead, and it's a female-led show. The problem is the main character of the show feels more like a recurring character, or a little bit like a background character. She kind of just pops in and out her own show, which is kind of weird, because I assume she would be front and center, trying to solve the case, investigating here and there, maybe chase some people down, something like taking the lead. But she doesn't in the first season. In fact, it's when the two guys show up, they feel like the leads of, like, the show. They're more interesting, they're more forthcoming, they take charge a whole lot more. You actually find a bit more out about them, especially in the first episode, when I can't think of his name, Felix shows up. Like, you get to know a little bit about him. He wants to transfer to, I forget what, I'm not familiar with England and all their cities and stuff like that, but he wants to, like, transfer, and so, like, you see he's kind of more like the posh kind of wimpy kind of guy, sophisticated type. And his partner, like Sam, is more like the gallant, like, man, the Prince Charming type, the charming one, like. And then you have, like, oh, what's her name? Ruth, who's kind of like the love interest of Sam. She's an investigative reporter. She's always sticking her nose in business. Like, in that one episode, she pretended to be like a maid so she can figure out what the heck is going on. And, then you have Peggy, who's kind of just there and, and stuff like that. And so when the two dudes show up, it feels like it's more their show than it is Sister Boniface. Is it Farce or Face? I have no idea. And it's weird because the sister, she, like, she pops in and out her show. Every time she pops in, she's always in her laboratory. She's mixing stuff around, figuring out, what this thing is and what that thing is and how it's connected to the murder. And then she pops completely out. And then when she pops back in, is normally just to say a few lines or to have, like, a wild, like, daydream about something. Like, she's always daydreaming, and she has the most vivid daydreams. And then she pops out again, only to pop back in to do some more forensic stuff. And then she pops out. And then normally it's one of the guys who takes down one of the killers and stuff. One time she showed up in episode 4, which they kind of made her character do a bit more. Like, she came in to save Sam. She picked up a vase. I thought she was going to hit the bad person in the head with it. But instead she just splashed water on him. And I'm just kind of like, what? And I'm just kind of like, are they afraid to like offend people because she's a nun? Because she can't have a love interest, you know, like she can't get her hands too dirty and everything. But it's just kind of like I've seen nuns on Call the Midwife who have more grit and, you know, are more interesting and written a whole lot better with backstories and stuff like that than like this character. And I just feel like it's a disgrace because this is this woman's show. It's named after her character. Like if I was Lorna Watson, I would be like furious and everything, you know? It's kind of like I got my own show, you know, it's a spin-off of this popular show. And, you know, I get to play this quirky kind of like detective forensic type person. My character's very smart, and it's just kind of like I don't understand why they would make her the backseat of her own show. Like that's just kind of weird. And one of the things I noticed about her, she's way too smart at times. She's always able to figure things out, which is, you know, fine for the most part, but it can get kind of irritating sometimes, you know? Kind of like how Batman is. Batman's always figuring everything out, and it's just kind of like I would like to see her struggle a little bit. I wished in season one they would have explored her character a bit more. I wish she could have got her hands dirty a bit more. You know what I'm saying? Like it's just weird how she kind of pops in and pops out of her own show, and I'm not the only person who feels that way. Like after I watched the first season, I'm all like. Am I just like daydreaming this? Like, am I just imagining this? Like, what do other people say about it? And a couple other people agreed with me and stuff like that. And, you know, but I noticed it had to have changed at some point in the series because in season four, in that last episode, she did take front stage. She was leading the charge and everything. She wasn't just popping in and popping out and letting the guys take care of everything. So at some point in time, the writers must have realized that they made a huge mistake and they corrected it. When exactly did they correct it? I have no idea. One of the problem I had with it is like following the clues. It's kind of like, you know, when you watch a crime drama, you want to be able to follow along with the police officers and stuff like that, or forensic people. And, you know, I can understand if like things go over your head, like, oh, what's this clue? And I just ran a test on it. It's this, and that. Like, I understand that. But it was just kind of like I had a hard time following all the breadcrumbs and clues of season one that led to the killer. It's just like I don't know how clue A led to clue B to clue C and then to like, you know, the killer and everything. It just kind of was like fast paced and kind of rushed, it felt like. And also there's not that many people to choose from when it comes to who the killer could be. One thing I've noticed is like there's a small tiny bit of red herrings. Normally with those red herrings they keep going back to over and over or just one time. The like guest stars are small, so it's normally one of four people at the most. But it tends to be the one who rarely has enough screen time. So that kind of sucks because it's kind of like you're not really expecting that person to be the killer, and you're expecting the other people who are there a bit more and are a bit more interesting. I do hate when shows do that. It's kind of like I want to follow along. I want to see if I can figure out if this person is like dirty or not. You know what I'm saying? Like in a slasher movie and stuff. The last time I saw a show like this was Unforgettable on CBS, and that show lasted for about 4 seasons, but it struggled every season because every season it was on the verge of cancellation because you never knew who the bad person was. It was a blink and you'll miss it person who only appears like once in the show. Then towards the end of the show, they're all of a sudden the bad person. And that's kind of sometimes how this show is a little bit. And then the motive as to why they killed these people, sometimes they're really good and other times they're kind of a little far-fetched because you want more detail. Like, I think it was episode two, the young man who would murder older women. Like, he would go on dates with them, but then murder them. It's because, and he always would play like what is them thing called, a puzzle with them, like the big kind. And the reason why he did this is because his mom abused him, would beat him, and make him study real hard, and she'll make him swallow puzzle pieces. And it's just kind of like that information would have been helpful earlier in the show and not just like thrown out doing like the killer's like explanation and everything and stuff like that. It's just kind of like lead up to it better, you know what I'm saying? There was no lead up to it. And the same thing about like the movie star who face got burnt really bad, and he went after I guess the producer or director or something like that. And but you don't know why somebody's going after this person. You're watching all the red herrings, and their reasoning seem pretty good. But then all of a sudden, it's just like this dude's like, "Oh yeah, I was burnt," and it's kind of like, "Oh, okay, no lead up." But then also, how did she figure things out so quickly? You know, so it's kind of like Scooby Doo in that regards. Now it was cool to see Max Brown again because I saw him in the show The Royals, and of course that ended on a cliffhanger and stuff. Also, I do like the diversity in the show for the most part. I do like Felix and stuff, and he's really cool. I like how he's not a stereotype, but I do hate how they make Sam a bit of the stereotype. He's like the white savior, like Prince Charming. Like Felix was fighting a bad dude off and struggling with him, and then got pushed down the ground, and Sam just comes in with one punch and saves the day. And of course, he has that love interest that of like Ruth and everything. But like, I also like the diversity of actually seeing a Chinese person in Britain like that. Like when I say I've never really seen that many, I mean I've really never seen that many. And she plays a nun. And the first actual Asian person of Chinese descent I've ever seen in a British show or movie was actually in the Harry Potter movie, but she's like Irish or something. But I've never really seen one from England. And so until I watched the show Borders, there's like one or two Asian of Chinese descent in that show. Now, there's a one show I just now watched after this one called The 11th Hour with Patrick Stewart, and there was tons of Chinese, British people, like in this one episode. So if I would have watched that like second, I would have seen a whole lot more. But when I watch a lot of British stuff, and when I say I rarely see a Chinese British person, I rarely see one on screen. It's like y'all are hiding them or something like that. And it's not just them, it's other races too. Like I see tons of like Pakistani people and tons of white people. In a British show, I always see that one lonely black person and stuff. And I thought diversity was like horrible over here in America, but apparently it's even worse over there in like Europe and stuff, whether it's Ireland, Australia, like England, France, and New Zealand. Even though they don't call themselves European, but I mean, white European people went and populated, well, stole, I should say, New Zealand from like the original people that lived there. So, in my opinion, yes, they're European. Though this one actress refused to call herself that. But like, yeah, I just thought diversity was horrible over here, but it's horrible, but like way worse over there and stuff. Because it's normally always just that one lonely black person I'll see in the show. And there was this one actress who was in the second season of No Offense. She played the mob boss lady. And she said that, you know, diversity is like not that great over there or in the UK because it's like she'll do a show and they'll do an interview and the entire cast would be there, all white. She'll be like the only black person and they never interview her and stuff. But yeah, besides that, the show's like pretty nice. It's quaint, you know what I'm saying? At least the first season is, but I did become uninterested because the main character doesn't really lead her own show. I'm hoping in the second season, whenever I get BritBox again, or whenever I get like Amazon Prime or something like that, I do want to check out the other seasons because I am curious to see if this format changes and the main actress actually takes center stage or not. Alrighty, well, I'll talk to y'all later. Bye.